In the studio today, we are absolutely delighted to welcome the controversial Mr. X. Mr. X has done extensive work on the history of Porthcawl, which pertains to the legal ramifications covering decades of local council plans for Porthcawl. Some might argue that Mr. X is nothing more than a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist with no justifiable credence to his claims, while others may well view these Mr. X files as having authenticity with substantiated information and referenced documentation. This video series will be of special interest to those who have a predisposition towards research, a keen sense of fairness to the people of Porthcawl, and a feeling for a justice which is beyond corruption, honourable, meaningful and insightful. Mr. X, a very warm welcome to you, sir. As you are aware, my main focus is on the future of Porthcawl and the 6 areas of regeneration of Porthcawl, while you seem to have dug deeply into the past of Porthcawl, covering decades of time, revealing discrepancies between the official narratives and the truth. Some people cannot handle the truth. Would you say that you are a truther or a conspiracy theorist?
Definitely a truther with an instinct and strong gut feelings when things are wrong.
How long have you been researching all these council and Porthcawl issues?
It began in 2018 with a gut feeling about true ownership after some old gent pointed out that all this land, pointing out Sandy Bay, was given to the people by 2 old ladies, which prompted an inquiry to Land Registry, where I discovered BCBC had only recently obtained first registration freehold deeds under the 12-year rule. The documentation showed first registration had been sought in 2005 without any evidence provided based on an original conveyance in 1920 from a Sir Raleigh Grey. So it would be almost 5 years ago I began digging.
Generally, would you say you have discovered some errors in your findings?
Plenty of errors and misinformation, e.g. on closing down the campsite in 2000 they focus on sand dunes for some reason, stating there's not enough blown sand to sustain or warrant their protection, ironically 3 to 4 meters higher in parts. In 1 week 600 tons of sand was cleared off the roadway between Park Dean and the high tide. I know this because I knew the man doing the clearing. 30 20-ton lorry loads. They did come up with a plan to alleviate that problem in 2007, which was build a seawall 7 meters out along the mean high tide line, effectively guaranteeing any blown sand gets washed back to sea. Not really sea defenses, but it would provide extra land for a promenade. Reek Point. Documents from Kew that contradict much of what PUDC portrayed to the public, the stadium proposal kept secret, etc.
How far back in time do we need to look in order to see the big picture?
We need to go back to before 1920 to gauge Sir T.G. Jones's mindset and ambitions, his close connection with Parliament, and through many references in newspaper reports, council correspondence, and especially his relationships with Lord Asquith and Clough William Ellis, the Portmeirion architect, the many companies mentioned in articles and their expectations, and a serious look at why a major London syndicate had to abandon all ambitions to build houses on the 256 acres TGJ claimed to have bought off Sir R.G. in 1924. R.G. was in South Africa at that time. Evidence or lack of evidence would indicate TGJ was entrusted to oversee that Newton Burrows was enjoyed by the ratepayers.
I noticed in one of your articles that you mention some royal decree concerning the lands of Porthcawl. Can you tell us a little about that, please?
Yes, it's strange that a conveyance made between King George V and PUDC and the Board of Trade in 1930 was always publicly available, but it wasn't until a member of the public shared some paperwork they had did the map relating to the land area, 256 acres, come together where colours matched. The map edition was from 1914, so current features had to be penned in, namely 3 areas where houses had already been built. At His Majesty's discretion he gave them dispensation. All things considered, the King's decree halted all construction work on the 256 acres, so all operations transferred to other parts of Porthcawl. The trademark concrete roads visible on aerial photographs of that period, Also visible were the illegal post-1930 erections at Beach Road and the chalets at Newton Dunes.
Are you insinuating that there has been a royal decree that has been entirely ignored and overlooked, dating back almost 90 years?
Yes, not exactly ignored, but from articles and correspondence it appears PUDC didn't know anything about the decree. In fact, PUDC were actively berating the board over their reluctance to share any evidence of TGJ's entitlement to ownership, obfuscating at every opportunity.
Could you tell us what PUDC means?
PUDC was Porthcawl Urban District Council, not under direction by Bridgend until OGWR Borough Council took over.
Correct me if I am wrong, but it seems that the people of Porthcawl, in regard to Porthcawl lands, are getting railroaded here. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
Certainly the history of consultations and misinformation coming off the pages along with delays in responding to residents' concerns for the last 20 years just indicates to me that the public are being misled into believing they have some influence, where in fact the decisions have already been made. A search of past proposals in plan form would indicate a much bigger ambition, virtually confirmed when the CPO areas were announced. The owners' agreement that the amalgamation of land would result in a 40 to 60 split of profits in BCBC's favour meant public land was being given away, land that by rights had been left to the ratepayers in 1920 by Sir Raleigh Grey.
Can you summarise what you have learnt and shared with us so far, please?
In summary, we've only scratched the surface. Ample evidence exists from newspaper articles and documents retrieved from a salt mine in Cheshire and viewed at Kew that requests for proof of entitlement to the original 256 acres was frequently sought but never to anyone's satisfaction. I quote from a letter from the 22nd of January 1945 to the Works and General Purposes Committee. No title of the Newton Estates, Porthcawl, Co-Limited was disclosed, and therefore I must assume until an abstract or the title deeds are made available for inspection that Sir T.G. Jones formed this company to develop the property which I understand he acquired from the late Sir Raleigh Grey. I reiterate, no deeds apparently existed until first registrations were made in 2005 and 2007.
You have given us a lot to think about, Mr. Axe. On behalf of myself and the viewers, I would like to thank you very much for your informative research and, of course, for your willingness to share your knowledge with us all. We would love to have you back on this channel to get more insights into not only the bureaucracy of the past, but also the current status quo of Porthcawl, particularly in regard to the 6 areas of regeneration, or, as it is officially known, Porthcawl's placemaking strategy. If possible, we would like to link the past to the present and draw more on your extensive knowledge of Porthcawl. Thank you, sir. Please tell us that you will come back for another Mr. Axe interview.
I certainly will return. We need the listeners to understand the expectations many had during the compulsory purchase order of 1948, and thereafter the true reason for the alleged purchase of only 56 of a total 256 acres.